Hi, I'm Chad Eiler, Chief of the Special Permits Enforcement Division for the Pennsylvania Game Commission.
And I'm Brian Sheets, Chief of the Administrative Division for the Pennsylvania Game Commission. Both Chad and myself are game wardens working with the Bureau of Wildlife Protection for the Pennsylvania Game Commission, headquartered in Harrisburg. We're here today to talk about Operation Game Thief, the program, and answer any questions you may have about it and what the program consists of and what it's about.
So here at the Pennsylvania Game Commission, our mission is to manage and protect wildlife and their habitats while promoting hunting and trapping for current and future generations.
Whether you're a hunter, a trapper, a bird watcher, or somebody enjoys walking in the woods, wildlife crimes affect us all.
Reporting illegal wildlife activity helps protect wildlife for current and future generations. We have a saying with the Operation Game Thief program that poachers are thieves and we need your help to help us catch them.
Without the public, we wouldn't be able to catch most of these people. The Pennsylvania Game Commission's Operation Game Thief program is also known as OGT. It serves to protect the wild birds, wild mammals of Pennsylvania, and encourages those with information to relate that information for wildlife crimes, to report the details and any information you can as soon as possible.
So we get information through Operation Game Thief one of two ways. Number one, we have a toll-free hotline. It's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. The number's pretty easy to remember. We've had the number for several years. It's 1-888-PGC-8001. Or you can go onto the Pennsylvania Game Commission's website, and right on our homepage is a Report a Violation tab, and it'll take you right to the online Operation Game Thief reporting form submission.
If you're also on Facebook, you can follow Operation Game Thief through the Pennsylvania Game Commission's page for current cases and developments of some of those cases.
So the program, Operation Game Thief, provides a way for people to really effectively communicate with the Pennsylvania Game Commission and then confidentially, or not confidentially, report tips about wildlife crimes. We ask, there's a difference between anonymous tips and confidential tips. We ask for confidential tips. Primarily that means that you're leaving your name and contact information in case an officer needs to get a hold of you. Anonymous tips are pretty tough because there's really no way for an officer to get a hold of somebody that leaves an anonymous tip. So if there's follow-up questions or more information is needed, anonymous tips are pretty hard to follow up with. So we ask for that confidential reporting through Operation Game Thief.
When you call the OGT hotline, all the answer calls are done by a secure recording device. Also, it is beneficial to provide your contact information in as much detail as you can, so when we pass it on to the wardens, they're able to follow through effectively and efficiently in order to answer any questions that you had, provide any information that you can give to us more. So like Mr. Eiler said, yes, you can remain as confidential as possible if you want to, that's great, but the more information you can give us helps us out in the long run in a very beneficial way to be able to effectively follow through with all the cases.
So Pennsylvania was founded on William Penn's belief that wildlife belongs to everybody. In fact, that's enshrined in the Pennsylvania Constitution, Article 1, Section 27 specifically, that says that citizens of the Commonwealth have natural resource rights and that the Commonwealth are the steward of those natural resources. So Operation Game Thief is a way to protect wildlife because that's one of the rights enshrined by the Pennsylvania Constitution and really the reason that the Pennsylvania Game Commission exists.
And just to repeat the information so you all have it, to make a report, it's easy. Call the OGT hotline 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's always there. You will be able to leave all the information right there if you want to, or fill out a form on our website, pgcpa.gov. You can find the OGT form on there. There's numerous ways to report those things, and every call gets answered.
It does, and dispatch is actually rather quick for Operation Game Thief tips. So now that we've talked a little bit about Operation Game Thief, I guess we'll see what questions people
Sounds
have.
like a plan.
So,
right. Reporting wildlife crimes, protect wildlife for future generations. How does reporting wildlife crimes, protect wildlife for future generations? It protects wildlife for future generations in any crime that you report. You have to remember, when a crime is committed and reported, that person's not taking that wildlife just from this generation now. It's taking it and the breeding of that wildlife and the succession of that wildlife from future generations down the road. So just because it seems like it's a now moment, it's not necessarily a now moment. It can benefit people 10 years from now.
Yeah, if you think about it, you take a large buck out of the breeding pool, or mature turkey out of the breeding pool, what have you. I mean, that's definitely affecting the youth of today, but then certainly when they're taking out their kids and grandkids as well. So, reporting either through Operation Game Thief, which is a pretty easy way to report wildlife crimes, but also if you call the appropriate regional office that services your area, officers will be dispatched to those calls, because we take wildlife crime seriously in Pennsylvania. And our goal is to kind of eradicate wildlife crime. We like to do that through voluntary compliance, but sometimes there's just people that push the envelope. Very thankfully, it's a small percentage of people, but those are the people that we need to focus in on, and we do that through Operation Game Thief. So again, pretty important that if you see something in this particular case, you've heard it a million times before, but say something, and you can do that through Operation Game Thief, or like we said, the appropriate regional office that services the area where the crime would have occurred. So I'll take the second one. Question is, if poachers are thieves, who are they stealing from? Well, we said a little bit earlier that wildlife belongs to everybody within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, whether you're a consumptive user, whether you're a hunter or trapper, or whether you are a non-consumptive user, bird watcher, hiker, canoeing, what have you, whatever sport that you like to enjoy outdoors. Natural resource rights are guaranteed in the Pennsylvania Constitution. So when poachers are taking wildlife illegally, they're stealing from everybody. It's really no different than if somebody would break into a PennDOT building and steal all the tools out of the PennDOT building. The citizens of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania paid for those tools, and so that individual that would be stealing from the PennDOT building, they're stealing from the citizens of the Commonwealth. And that's exactly the same thing when people are poaching wildlife. We said before, it was really William Penn that established the belief that wildlife belongs to everybody when he was finally granted a charter in 1681 to basically found Pennsylvania. So 1683, he's putting out an edict that says that hunting is permissible on all lands under his charter. So that really lays the groundwork, way different than what was happening in Europe. In Europe, basically, wildlife belonged to the people whose land it was found on.
Yeah.
And William Penn, when he founded the New World, or founded Pennsylvania in the New World, really kind of changed that scenario. So we like to stay with that, with what the founder of Pennsylvania, basically put out and was an edict. And as we said, it's really a constitutional right. And we take our job seriously at the Pennsylvania Game Commission, certainly in law enforcement, but within all the other bureaus that we have, whether that's habitat management and development, or whether that's our biologists working hard to make sure that species are here for hunters and here for non-consumptive users alike. So when somebody poaches wildlife, they're stealing from everybody.
Yeah,
really.
They're stealing from everybody in Pennsylvania, or people that even come outside the state of Pennsylvania to hunt in Pennsylvania. They're stealing from them. So it's not just a victimless crime like some people say it is.
Good point.
I mean, it is stealing. Laws and regulations are in place for everybody to make it a fair chase sport for everybody to hunt. And without those, if we just left everybody go out and harvest whatever they want, it takes away from everybody.
Yep, no doubt.
Let's see. How can I report a wildlife crime to OGT hotline? We explained a lot of that in the beginning. Have how you can contact the 800, it's the 888 number. You can go onto our website. There's ways to do it on Facebook. You can look on there to get the information you need. Your digest that people get with their hunting license has the OGT tip in it. And if you see a game warden out there, don't be afraid to ask him for information on OGT and how to report the incidents. They all have that information and can tell you, give you things that you can keep that will remind you of next time you see that, what to call and how to report it.
Yep, we are doing a big promotion now through our marketing bureau, of which we're sitting in front of right now, to get the word out about Operation Game Thief. Our Operation Game Thief program has been around since about mid-2016, And since then, we've fielded numerous calls per year. We get about 1,500 submissions to our Operation Game Thief hotline and our online submission form a year. And that's quite a bit. That ranks us about third in the nation of how many submissions to Operation Game Thief program that we're actually getting. I think we're right behind Florida and Texas, or Texas and Florida, depending upon how they rank.
You're right.
So we get a lot of people that report to the Operation Game Thief hotline, and again, it being available 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. It's there for the taking, so to speak. So if somebody sees a wildlife crime, we try to make it very easy for them to communicate with us. So it's been a very effective communication tool for the agency for a variety of different reasons.
That's correct.
When you call Operation Game Thief, or you read about Operation Game Thief, or like I said, submit an online form, most of the information you're going to receive is Operation Game Thief should be used for big illegal takes of big game or endangered or threatened species. But honestly, it's a communication tool that we use throughout the agency for a variety of different things. So again, if you need to communicate with the agency, Operation Game Thief is an effective way to do that.
I mean, people have sent in numerous reports on Operation Game Thief of littering on game lands or state forests.
Great point.
Or private property that people have. I mean, it gets to where it needs to, so don't be afraid to submit those ways also.
That's a great point.
Those get to the regional offices, which gets to the wardens, which can go out and investigate them.
Yep.
I know it's like littering, but still, littering's a very touchy subject to mine here in the state of Pennsylvania. I don't like people throwing stuff all over my lands. So, I mean, it's another great way to report those kind of things, too.
Well, we're pretty proud. We have a public access program within the Pennsylvania Game Commission. We do that with a variety of different private landowners, whether that's through our safety zone program or forest game or farm game program. Like Brian said, if you see litter on those lands, dumping on those lands, that's the way those lands get closed. And so we want to have as much public hunting opportunity for people to enjoy as possible. And so again, Operation Game Thief, really we tried to focus it on the illegal take of big game and threatened or endangered species. But again, it's just as important to us to keep that land that's enrolled in our public access programs open, so that hunters and trappers, and again non-consumptive users as well, can utilize and enjoy that land. And so anything that you see that may potentially be a wildlife crime, we're interested in it. And also, it might seem like a very small detail to the person reporting, but really it might be the last piece of a puzzle.
That's correct.
that the officer is looking for. So it may seem like a small detail, but please let us know, because you may be the 27th person that submitted information about the particular crime, and yours might be the piece of information that the officer needs to kind of put it all together. So
that's 100% correct.
I think I'm up next with
Go ahead.
this. So what happens when I call the Operation Game Thief hotline? Are all reports kept confidential? And so again, you'll just basically get some instructions when you call. They may seem like an elongated instruction, but they it's put there for a reason. Again, Operation Game Thief, focusing in on the illegal take of big game and endangered and threatened species. The recording that you're going to hear is going to say, if you just need general information or information about general hunting regulations, what have you, to call the appropriate regional office, and try to keep the Operation Game Thief line kind of clear for people that are submitting wildlife crime reports. So yes, their information will be kept confidential. We believe very strongly that confidential information is protected, and we protect it. So an officer may contact you. You should leave some information if you don't want contacted during certain times of the day or what have you. That all helps our officers. Again, we talked a little bit earlier about anonymous information and tips versus confidential information and tips. Anonymous, it's really hard for us to follow up on that. So you might say that a deer is being poached on Smith Road and then hang up the phone. There's 1 million Smith Roads in Pennsylvania. So if you leave your name and phone number or contact information and email, what have you, that gives the officer the ability to reach out to you and say, hey, what Smith Road are you talking about? And then really kind of focus the investigation there. So important to kind of follow what that recording says. But again, we take keeping confidential informants very, very seriously. And it's something we demand of ourselves and demand of our officers. So you can expect that through Operation
Yeah,
Game
and
Thief.
I mean, being an officer from the field recently, we never give that information out. I mean, that's private information. It never goes out. I mean, I've solved numerous cases with the help of public, and they wanted to remain confidential. They would come to court if they needed to, but they wanted to remain confidential.
Yeah.
And I wholeheartedly agree with them. And don't worry, we do not give that information out. The only time that information is going to be known is if you need to come to court to testify, which
Again,
you should want to do because they stole something from us.
but we take that seriously too. So, you know, if people are worried about different issues involving
yeah.
reporting, I mean, our officers will dump a case before they give up a confidential informant. So again, you may not be the only one reporting the illegal wildlife activity. So you might be that final piece in the puzzle. So we still ask you to report that information. It's important to us and important to our officers. And really, you know, we get some information through Operation Game Thief that has a lot to do sometimes with, you know, health and human safety as well. So, you know, people hunting, you know, too close to occupied structures, stuff like that. You can report all of that through Operation Game Thief. Most of the times we like that to go through the regional office that services the area. But, you know, if it's a safety issue as well, we're taking that with, you know, great seriousness. So,
how detailed should my report be? That's kind of a tough question, but it's not that bad. Is there any specific game warden is looking for? Us as game wardens are always looking for as much information as you can provide. What you saw, the species involved, the date and time that you've seen it, the best guess you can, the county, the township, the addresses. If you know a specific address, that Joe Public is constantly poaching and keeping the deer at this address. Those are things. The description of the person, the best you can. We don't want you running up there, taking your camera out, taking photos of the person right in front of you. We don't need that. What we need is as best information as you can get. I mean, was he bald? Was he or she wearing bright pink hair or blue lipstick or anything else like that? Anything that you can provide helps us in a long way. The biggest thing a lot of people fail to do, and it helps, so like Mr. Eiler said earlier, you know, if you get 10 calls of a red pickup truck, that 11th call maybe it was a red Dodge pickup truck with a big buck rack sticker in the back window. Okay, that limits it down to a red pickup truck. So all that information you can give, where it happened, when it happened, bumper stickers, license plates if you can get it. I don't want you chasing down people at high rates of speed to get license plates. Please don't do that. But anything you can get that you feel is important, it will be important. So please give us as much information as you can. And again, like we said earlier, if you can, provide us with your number. We'll reach back out to you. Believe it or not, when they call you a day later, a lot of times you'll remember things that you didn't remember happening at that given time. And you can give better detailed information then. So anything you can provide works great for us.
Yeah, that's actually a great description. I can't improve on that. So anything, you know, that's important to, again, might be the last piece in the puzzle.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
I think I have a question coming in, but I can't read the top of that.
I don't know. I kind of scrolled.
There we go. Good. So I'll take this one. Has the Game Commission given any thought to develop a prevention program? Reporting programs only help after a crime is committed. I'll go into those first. Yeah, I would say that really our whole information and education and marketing focus really is a prevention program.
Yes.
You know, we try to keep the public informed. If you take a look historically as to our information and education programs that we've conducted as an agency, they really started probably in the turn of the 20th century. So you're talking between 1900 and 1910, where we'd actually take, you know, live animals to events, which was probably not the best thing to do, but nobody really knew better back then. And also had an officer with those live animals. It was almost like a menagerie or a zoo type setting we'd go to county fairs, we'd go to a variety of different locations during that time period and explain the new game laws to people. Because again, our agency was founded in 1895, and within 10 years, we're putting out our first information education promotional programs. And so we're doing that to inform the public about laws. And we've really never stopped with that prevention program. Older hunters may remember, or not older hunters, but maybe middle-aged hunters may remember our sport program, which was our sportsmen policing our ranks together, which Operation Game Thief kind of grew out of, and also our TIP program, which was a turn into poaching program or turn into poacher program. And so while I agree that there's not a prevention program per se, I think everything we do is a prevention program. True. Whether it's our officers in the field or whether it's information given through this medium or what have you. We want the public to be informed about what we're doing and why we're doing it, and also to realize too that we do that because the overall goal of law enforcement is voluntary compliance. And again, and I think Brian will agree with this, we're lucky as officers because 95% of the people that we deal with are just good, law-abiding hunters, trappers, public in general. It's a very small percentage of people that we focus, like this program, on. So we're constantly trying to provide information to make sure that the public is aware of what we're doing, new laws, things like that. We do that through news releases, again, through social media, through a variety of different market or marketing-driven strategies. And so, we're pretty lucky to have that ability and that talent within the Game Commission.
I mean, by all means, if you're sitting there and somebody says, hey, I'm going to go out and poach deer tonight, and it's going to happen, don't be afraid to call the dispatch centers or the regional offices and say, hey, so-and-so says they're going to go do this tonight. And if you wholeheartedly feel that they're going to do it, there's a preventative measure that you took to help us prevent them from actually following through with it.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's about as preventative as we can get. It's a little hard to start a preventative program when you can't really read somebody's mind and know what they're going to do at all times.
Yeah. There's a second part of that question, which...
there it is.
Well, I can take that if you want.
Sure.
So could we use a robo-deer to catch poachers? Can the public hold their own sting operations?
Ooh.
Well, we strongly discourage that.
Yes.
There is a variety of different kind of hoops that we have to jump through as a law enforcement agency, no different than any other law enforcement agency, to make things legal and correct and then binding when it comes to courtroom procedure, filing of charges, things like that. We do not recommend that one bit.
No.
and so we would probably discourage that to the utmost degree. Plus, you also have to realize, ours isn't a better profession than anybody else's. Everybody's profession is important, but it is different. And there have been officers that have been, engaged in decoy operations that have been shot, injured, what have you. And really, it's kind of a travesty when that happens. So do not do that. That's almost akin to you seeing somebody driving down the road and they're drunk, and you stopping that vehicle.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Call the police. Be a good witness. Do the exact same thing here. Again, there are certain criteria that we have to meet legally to use a deer decoy, which is the General Assembly has given us that ability and has authorized it through statute, and that is for targeting, the hard wildlife criminal. To be honest with you, so again, we strongly discourage that. That is not something that we would be interested in seeing.
To answer the question, yes, we use them all the time. We use different kinds of species, from coyotes to turkeys to pheasants to deer. We use them all the time as game wardens out in the field. They are a very complex operation to do, like Mr. Eiler said, for legality reasons, safety reasons, those. But yes, they are used quite a bit. They are used more than public knows we can't go out and say, hey, we're going to be doing this at this time, at this place. It defeats the purpose. But yes, to answer your question, they are used quite a bit and quite often, and they're also very successful a lot of times.
They are, and again, we're even looking at safety aspects there. So, you know, when we're running a decoy operation, we're looking at safe backstops. We're looking at, you know, because again, and that's why we're strongly discouraging and saying that we are not interested if people, you know, do that and then come to us with that evidence. That's again akin to pulling over.
Please don't do that.
Yeah.
Be a good witness. Be a great witness.
Be a great witness, no doubt. So
that will help out in the long run.
Thanks,
Okay. What's the difference between hunting and poaching? Hunting is a regulated sport, a hobby per se, that anybody that buys a license, anybody that loves to hunt for the purpose of it, fair chase, equal opportunity. Those are two big things. Safety. Those are all things that me as a hunter, you as a hunter, most hunters enjoy to do. Even people just watching it enjoy to do. Poachers, on the other hand, they're after a specific thing. Racks, beards, the amount of animals. We've had dozens of cases every couple of years of people going around just trying to shoot as many deer as they can, letting them lay in the fields. That is a total waste. It is a waste to any law-abiding hunter, or at least to anybody. I mean, the saying of I need to go poach to subside my family with food, that may have been true in the 20s. It's not true anymore to these days. There's ways of, if you need food, if you need that, please contact us. We'll get game wardens that have deer all the time that are mistake kills, crop kills, illegally poached deer that we give to people all the time that are in need of those things. We rather hand it over that way than versus you go out, do something you're going to regret that'll cost you thousands of dollars, possible jail time and everything else down the road. So that is a big difference between hunting and poaching. Hunting, it's out there doing it regularly, following the schedules, fair chase. I mean, that animal deserves a fair chase. You as a hunter want to do it as a fair chase. The next hunter beside you should be doing it as a fair chase. To go out and just do it willy-nilly at the night or just overshoot or anything else like that, that's not fair to the animal. That's not fair to people of Pennsylvania.
Yep. Legally licensed lawful hunting is completely different than poaching. So,
correct.
I mean, you know, and again, we gave you the kind of the percentages that we've seen through, you know, over probably 40 years of experience here. Yeah. You know, the people that are poaching are stealing from all citizens of the Commonwealth, and legally licensed lawful hunters are doing it right. Might make a minor mistake, but you know,
everybody makes mistakes.
We have all done that. So that's just kind of the way we define it within the Bureau of Law Enforcement and Wildlife Protection. So, okay, I'll take the next one. And okay, it is, if I get stopped along the road while either starting or ending my hunt, are wardens allowed to search my vehicle? Well, I mean, that's kind of a very broad question.
Yes.
So the way I would answer that is, you know, that the Pennsylvania Game Commission officers are bound by the same type of constitutional restraints that any police officer is. We are defined as police officers within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, so we have to respect constitutional rights, things of that nature. With that said, everything is based upon the totality of the circumstances from that specific, you know, incident. Yeah. So is there a reasonable suspicion? Is there probable cause? We have to meet certain legal standards. And I will tell you that our officers, when they're trained at the Ross Leffler School of Conservation, as well as annual required legal updates, which inform officers of current case laws, of current statutory and regulatory changes, both to our code as well as to other
Title
codes
18,
within
every code.
Federal law as well. So our officers are well versed in you know, what authority we actually have, based upon, again, the totality of those circumstances are being faced on that scene. So I hate to give a very vague answer there, but it's kind of what should be said, because you could change that question with a couple different words and say, Was there a kidnapping in the area? And now the totality of circumstances changed, and the vehicle description meets things like that. And I know I'm being.
Is there a deer leg hanging out of the trunk?
Yeah, it changes things. But again, we're bound by the same constitutional restraints that any police department is.
Correct. So that is correct. 100% correct. Okay, next one. Is the OGT program taxpayer funded? No, it is not. Am I correct in that one?
You're correct in that one.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. It is not taxpayer funded.
It's funded by the agency.
Exactly.
And so we are a non-taxpayer funded entity. And a lot of people find that kind of hard to believe. In 1895, when we were established by the General Assembly, the General Assembly decided they weren't going to fund us. So there's actually, I believe, 4 Commonwealth agencies that are not taxpayer funded. It's the Game Commission, Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission, Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission, and then the Turnpike Commission. So basically it's like a user pay, user benefit entity that we have. So none of our programs are taxpayer funded, especially law enforcement programs. So it kind of goes back to that old adage that hunters and trappers really pay for wildlife conservation within Pennsylvania because they're buying hunting license, they're buying fur takers license, they're partners with this agency to protect species they'll never be able to hunt or trap. And so, that's a pretty important component of the Game Commission and really the reason why we find it necessary to tell people frequently that we are not a taxpayer funded entity. And so hunters and trappers are really the reason there's wildlife within this Commonwealth,
exactly.
To be very honest. So
exactly.
And our partners as well. I mean,
True.
we have a lot of partners that are consumptive users, but we have a lot of partners that are non-consumptive users. So they'll help us purchase lands for state game lands because they know that land will be protected in perpetuity, and it's important that we have those consumptive and non-consumptive users support the agency, but also we support what they're doing as well.
We'll switch it up here. I'll take the next one because I know you're going to want to talk about the next one after that one.
For sure.
And this question is a fairly simple answer. Is it legal to use a decoy during archery season? Yes, it is legal to use a decoy during archery season. I'm presuming you mean, are you allowed to use a decoy to archery hunt with? Yes. If you're saying, is it legal to use a decoy to catch poachers during hunting season? That is also a yes. We are allowed to do that during archery season too. Hopefully that was a quick and direct response to your question.
Got her. Take the next one. Are monetary rewards available for those who report OGT cases? And the answer to that is, it depends. We have a statutory provision in Title 34 that allows for, if there's an illegal take of big game or an illegal take of endangered and threatened species, that if a person is found guilty of those crimes, that the judge that is hearing that case can throw on an additional penalty, part of which that penalty can be used to pay an informant for submitting information to our Operation Game Thief program. So there's a lot of depends there. And again, that is only for big game species and then endangered and threatened species. But Brian sits on the board of the Conservation Officers of Pennsylvania Association, which is basically like a fraternal organization of both Fish Commission officers and Game Commission officers. And what COPA, or Conservation Officers of Pennsylvania Association, has done is they have actually graciously contributed like $50 gift cards. So if there is a case where it is not a big game species, it is not a threatened or endangered species, or it is and the judge didn't add that additional penalty, if it's somebody that killed 20 mallard ducks, I would think that we would consider giving a reward in that particular case. And so what COPA has done is they've provided us with those gift cards, provided us with some plaques. We certainly as an agency have a couple different things that we give out for people that aren't monetary in nature in most circumstances, but certainly show our appreciation. So we do our best with what we have. We're locked in by statute in a couple of these things. But like I said, the game wardens and the Fish Commission officers in the state really have stepped forward because the money that we buy those cards with are our dues
Yes.
that we pay to that organization,
That is exactly
of
right.
which Brian is on the board of directors. So we kind of put our money where our mouth is there, and we're pretty proud of that program.
Yeah.
You have anything to add to that?
I mean, COPA, it's Conservation Officers of Pennsylvania, like Mr. Eiler said. It is a program funded by game wardens and outside members that like game wardens and those things.
Yeah.
We stepped up because there was a need for supplying a monetary amount sometimes, or plaques, or different things. It depends on what it is. But yeah, they stepped up to make sure that the Game Commission can supply those things to people that report wildlife crimes through OGT hotlines and stuff that for some reason didn't get the monetary amount, if it wasn't big game species or anything else like that, or the courts didn't award that amount. Again, that's all up to the courts to award it if they want to. We can request it all day. It's up to them to reward it. But yeah, I mean, COPA's there to help them. They wholeheartedly believe in OGT. The president of COPA, Mike Reeder, he's one of the people that started OGT here for the Pennsylvania Game Commission along with Chad. So, I mean, they're 100% committed in helping to make sure the OGT program succeeds.
Yep. Which is actually our next question. How successful is OGT? I'll let you handle the second part of that
You're fine.
question.
You go ahead.
Operation Game Thief is actually quite successful. As I said, most states have some sort of Operation Game Thief program. And we belong as an agency to what's called the International Wildlife Crime Stoppers Association. Yep. And so we get statistics from other states as part of our annual reports that we have to submit to that entity. And that entity, again, helps purchase decoys for us for use in wildlife enforcement, trailers that we have purchased a trailer here for Operation Game Thief that we take to local fairs and sportsmen's clubs and things like that.
National night out.
National nights out, things like that. So that entity, International Wildlife Crime Stoppers, is a pretty important tool in our tool belt as well. So we look at the annual reports every year. We certainly measure ourselves up to the other 49 states out there, and we're basically third in the nation for the amount of legitimate tips that come through our Operation Game Thief program. We get about 1,500 a year, and that's a lot. And that's a lot to dispatch a year as well, because they're not coming in an equal amount every single day. We get hit hard, obviously, during hunting season because people are using the program. So let you take that.
What was the second part of that question? I forget what it was. If not,
how many poachers are convicted?
It depends. Honestly, it depends. To put a number on it, it depends on a multitude of things. I'm going to say if we get 1,500 calls, I can't give you the amount of poachers that are convicted every year. Again, there's some that are tried in a court of law that are found not guilty for some unknown reasons. There's plenty that plead guilty, don't go to courts of law. There's plenty that are not OGT related that call in under OGT, like littering, that are convicted and stuff like that. To put a number on it, I mean, there's dozens. I can't sit here and give you an exact number to date of how many without thoroughly looking it up. But again, please don't let that stop you from calling in. I mean, everything's followed through. We follow through everything to the far as we can with the information you provide. Again, like we said in the beginning, if you want to remain anonymous, don't give us a callback number. We can only go on the information you get. Yep. So if you simply say a red pickup truck at 1 o'clock shot from the road, it's a little hard to follow that through when Pennsylvania is so big with 68 township or counties in it, or 67 counties in it. It's a little hard to limit that down. So please give the best information you can on where everything's at. And yes, they all get followed through. There's dozens of people that get convicted every year through OGT and just by the reports that the public gives. Again, I can't give you an exact number.
So
interesting, that last question. I like that one.
Oh, that's good. So how quickly does the Game Commission respond to OGT reports, Operation Game Thief reports? We are very quick here. We have a great Bureau of Automated Technology Services, and they have developed a program for us that we generally get the information into an officer's computer-aided dispatch within about 20 minutes. That time period, that has been going down.
Yes.
We have moved 3 regions into a centralized dispatch in our Harrisburg headquarters. And so we've had information forwarded to officers within about 3 minutes in some circumstances. And that's just fantastic. I mean, well, we probably are the quickest in the nation at this point to getting that information out to officers as soon as we receive it. And that's whether you do an online submission or the phone call. Phone call goes to our officer in a WAV file, and it's quick. So we're proud of that. We're proud of our dispatchers as well, because without them being able to kind of look at that, determine the viability of the call and get that out to an officer. I mean, it's contingent, the success of Operation Game Thief is contingent on people reporting, but also our dispatchers who are accepting calls from the public, dispatching officers out, getting Operation Game Thief calls in, the management of that. It is very complex. So those folks deserve a lot of credit as well, just like any dispatcher does.
Interesting enough, we just had one, 2 weeks ago. It came through OGT hotline. Of a hunter harvesting a deer over bait.
Yep.
They called it in to the OGT hotline. The dispatcher was right there, got it right away, got it into the warden's hands. The warden made it out there, found the deer with the arrow in it and all the bait around, and the hunter's still there. So, I mean, that transpired within like 40-minute time frame.
It did.
So, I mean, it was a success story. It was great. I mean, everything worked out like it was supposed to. They gave great information, got it into the tip line. The tip line worked like it was supposed to, got to the warden got out there. It couldn't have worked any better.
Nope. Yep. And it happens frequently.
Yes,
and so
it happens a lot.
That is because the public is reporting. So,
correct.
That's great. So I think it's time for us to sign off. Just want to thank you for tuning in today to learn more about the Pennsylvania Game Commission's Operation Game Thief program. We sincerely appreciate you caring about Pennsylvania, our wildlife, our wild birds, wild mammals, and supporting wildlife conservation in our state.
Don't forget to report any wildlife crimes, small, minuscule, big, large, whatever you feel you need to report, please report it by calling the 1-888-PGC-8001 or going on to the Pennsylvania Game Commission website, which is pgc.pa.gov.
Yep.
You can find everything on there. Again, no matter how small, large, insignificant you think it is, if you think it's important to report it, please report it and we'll follow through with it.
And thanks to our marketing bureau, we ask that you follow Pennsylvania Game Commission's Operation Game Thief Facebook page. For current cases, we put cases on there and then follow through with them with the successful cases. Sometimes that's an elongated time period because we wait till the case is adjudicated through the courts, but we put successful cases on there as well. So thank you again for supporting our program.
Thank you.